Some bright morning, I'll fly away. Good morning, and welcome to the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati. My name is Reverend Connie Simon, and I'm glad to see your faces this morning. Located on the ancestral lands of the Adena, Hopewell, Miami, and Shawnee people, our urban community welcomes all with love, supports learning and spiritual growth, serves our wider community, and works for justice, equity, and inclusion. During the service, you may hear mention of programs or other things that interest you. At the end, there will be some announcements of upcoming events. If you'd like to learn more about anything you hear this morning, you want to hear more about our community or Unitarian Universalism, please send an email to member-care@firstuu.com. We begin our time together this morning by lighting our chalice. So I'll ask my two chalice lighters if they're ready. Important things going on over here. And this morning, we're going to do it with a prayer because it feels like we are in need of prayer. This is called Your Love Rains Down on All by Amy Johnson. Loving Creator beyond our understanding, yet closer than our breath, breathe into us your love so that we may love ourselves and others as you do. Help heal the fear, hate, and judgment that wound so many. Help us know deeply and certainly that love transcends all labels, all categories, all words. Your love is. Your love rains down on us all. Everyone is invited to your table. We each bring our whole and broken parts and come together in your love, which binds us and heals us all. Amen. Please join now in singing our vision song. You may rise in body or spirit as you're willing and or able, and the words will appear on the screen. We are a little reed. And greet your neighbor. There we go. Hey. Hi. Good morning,
I should never come after greet your neighbor. There's been a number of articles lately about how difficult it is to be a teen these days. And if you ever read one of those articles online, you probably have invariably come across a comment by someone saying, "It's all because of social media," which I find pretty ridiculous, actually. It seems like the same argument that people used against comic books in the 30s and 40s, and rock and roll in the 50s and 60s, and television in the 70s and 80s, and video games in the 90s and 2000s. The truth is, it's always hard to be a teen. Now, admittedly, some of the studies that have come out have said that it's harder now, more hard now than ever. And so you may be wondering why that is and what can be done about that. I think if you were to talk to a handful of youth, you might hear them say that actions against climate change and systemic injustice would go a long way. But those changes take time, right? And something needs to happen now. So what can you do as an individual? Well, hopefully today's story will give you some direction.
I Am Love, a book of compassion by Susan Verde, art by Peter H. Reynolds. When I see someone going through a storm of hurt and unfairness, of anger and sadness, when the sun disappears and the skies grow dark, and I see there is fear, I ask myself, what can I do to help let the light back in? I put my hands on my heart and listen, and that is where I find the answer. I have compassion. I act with tenderness. I am love. I can listen and say a word. I can be there. Love is being present. I can hug and say everything will be all right. Love is comfort. I can speak softly and choose my words and actions carefully. Love is gentle. I can give thanks for all I have and am able to share. Love is gratitude. I can keep my mind and body safe and healthy. Love is taking care of me. I can express what's important to me. Love is creative. I can know that no one is perfect. Love is understanding. I can do my best to make things better when something is wrong. Love is effort. I can celebrate those I've loved before. Love is remembering. I can find goodness in a kind word, a helping hand, or a shared smile. Love is tiny gestures. I can breathe in the air that the whole world shares and know all creatures are made from the very same stardust. Love is connection. When the clouds roll in, for others and for me, I know now there is something I can do. I can let my heart lead the way. I am love. You are love. And with love we will weather the storm and light up the sky. Together. Author's note. Love is everywhere. It is inside of us and all around us, and there are so many ways it can be shared and expressed. But sometimes things happen in our life that make us feel afraid, sad, frightened, or helpless, and our ability to find that love can get lost. I Am Love is an exploration of the many ways love exists, and an affirmation of how, once we listen to our hearts and find the love within ourselves, we can share it with the world and find connection and compassion. My hope is that this book will inspire conversations with our children about love in all its expressions, and about how we are not helpless, but in fact have the power to make the world more beautiful when we come from a place of love. I wonder, how and where does love show up in your life?
Here we are again. I don't know what number day of the year this is. It feels like 2022 has been flying by anyway. I know we're not up to day 180 yet because we're not at June 30th. But I also know that there have been 239 mass shootings in this country this year. And we're not even halfway through the year. Just let that sink in for a minute. 239 acts of mass shooting, of gun violence. The most recent happening last night in Philadelphia, on South Street. And I had to check quickly to make sure that my great niece and nephew weren't out enjoying a fun evening on South Street, where most young people go. But they weren't, they're safe. And still. This world that we live in seems to be a never-ending cycle sometimes of hurt and wounding others, and of meanness, and of racism, and oppression, and violence. And we wonder, how are we going to make it through? How are we going to deal with it? I don't have an easy answer, except perhaps to remember that love is everywhere, that we are love, that we have the power of compassion. we have the ability to be gentle and to show love. Those things help me as I think about trying to get through these cycles. And still, it's hard. So this morning, I'm going to ask us to pause for just a moment to think about those whose lives have been affected by violence, by racism, by homophobia, by transphobia. Just for a minute. And let's also take a moment to think about the hope that still lies within each of us. That little spark. We talk about Unitarian Universalism as being an intellectual faith, where we think what we want to think. We're able to explore our own spiritual paths and embark upon these spiritual journeys. At the root of universalism is the belief that within every single one of us there is the spark of the divine. However deeply it may be buried, it is in there. And that gives me hope. It helps me to remember and to enjoy the little things that happen every day. That spark inside me reminds me to be grateful for the joys that come my way. To be present to those I love. To do what I need to do to take care of myself and love myself. That love is so important. That gratitude so important. So this week, even though we're balancing the heartache of war and oppression and illness and grief and continuing disease, now we have to think about monkeypox. As we're balancing all of these things, know too that there is still beauty. There is still love in the world. There are still kind people. There are loving people. There are happy moments happening. There are little babies learning to walk. There are little babies growing inside parents right now. There are people experiencing love for the first time. There are people getting ready to be married today, getting ready to do some great thing, live their dreams, whatever it is. This is the cycle of life. This is what we are called to recognize, not just on Sunday morning at 10:20 when we drop some stones, but all the time. This is what we should be carrying in our hearts. Day by day, week by week, month by month, year by year, and even moment by moment. So now I invite you all to come forward as you are willing and able, up the outside aisles and back down the center, to drop a stone in water. The stones represent whatever joy or sorrow is on your heart this morning, and the water represents the love and healing power of community. Please come forward. For those we've named, for those whose names we do not know, and for those whose names are carefully guarded in our hearts, we drop these last stones. I want to share with you a prayer of connection by Amy Zucker Morgenstern. The Hindu god Indra is said to have created reality as a great net, with jewels at each intersection of the threads. Every jewel is reflected in every other, and they are all connected by the infinite, intricate web. The jewels are sacred, and so is the net that connects them. And so I pray, dear God, you are the between spaces of our lives. Where one hand reaches to touch another, you are there. Where eyes meet across the crowd and confusion and find understanding, you are there. Where the spark leaps from one mind to ignite another, that is you. Wherever we connect, you are the connection. Each of us is a jewel in Indra's net, shining like dew in a spider's web. Praise to you, that web that connects us one to another. When we are in the in-between, on our way from the intolerable to the unknown, when we defy the categories that small minds invent and dare to imagine something beyond, when we seek others who are on a journey, on a threshold, on the margins, in any of the shimmering intersections of our lives, when we listen to the possibilities whispered within and step into mystery with trust, with fear, with trembling, may we find peace, for there we dwell in your sacred place. I invite you now into a moment of silent meditation, reflection, or prayer as you enjoy these special flowers this morning. About a year ago, I had the honor of officiating a wedding. Amanda Lynch and Tommy Oni. These flowers are given in honor of their 1-year anniversary. And the October birth of their first child.
Draw the circle Davis Roberts, and on behalf of your social justice team, I am so pleased today to welcome Jordan Ulrey from the Lighthouse Youth Services as our speaker. So Jordan is going to speak to us about the work that Lighthouse Youth Services does. And the social justice team, as you know, with your input, identifies organizations in our community that are putting into action our congregation's Unitarian Universalist values. And as we were speaking today or listening to Meredith's story, I was thinking that the work that Lighthouse Youth Services does truly is love in action. They work with some of our most vulnerable members of our community, homeless youth and kids who are at risk of homelessness and their families. They are nationally known for their work, and they are local leaders in working in the homeless community, helping our children be safe. So I'm so glad to have them here. Also, as I think of us as an urban congregation, it's a great opportunity for us to get to know our neighbors. Lighthouse Youth Services is really not in our backyard, they're across the street, across from Reading Road rather. And so it's also, I'm gonna make a little plug, in addition to your financial contributions, which will be, I guarantee, wisely spent and very much needed, it's a great opportunity or a great place to volunteer or to make donations of meals or school supplies or Christmas gifts or sanitary items and things that kids need. So it's a great opportunity for us to get to know our neighbors. So thank you and welcome, Jordan.
Thank you all. It's been a beautiful and very organized service so far, so I'm going to do my best not to mess it up. And thank you for the introduction. So yes, I am Jordan Ulrey. I am the volunteer coordinator for Lighthouse Youth and Family Services. So Lighthouse deals with youth that are either homeless or at risk of homelessness. We provide them with resources and support to help them and guide them on their way. So I'm here to speak a little bit about Lighthouse as well as different opportunities that are available within Lighthouse, such as meal donations, in-kind donations, as well as volunteering your time and your services. So I appreciate you all having me here. So Lighthouse's mission is to empower young people and families to succeed through a continuum of care that promotes healing and growth. So through that, we do a bunch of resources. We have resources for youth all the way from birth to age 24 years old. So every year, Lighthouse serves over 3,500 youth. On any given day, we have over 400 youth in our residential care. That number is a little bit different with COVID, but that is what it looks like on a normal year. So I could be up here all day talking about all the different programs that Lighthouse has, so I'm just going to give a little bit of a snapshot. So essentially, we have a foster care and adoption services, as well as we have a New Beginnings and Youth Development Center that are both residential treatment centers for girls and boys respectively, 10 to 17 who have been through a lot of trauma. Those youth deal with therapists and staff to help guide them on their way, as well as we have Community Juvenile Justice Services, and that's directly connected to our Paint Creek program, which is up north, and that is a quote-unquote juvenile facility that is used to have youth serve out their time, but it is not what you think as a juvenile system. It's there's no barbed wire fences, there's no guards. It's kind of a serene environment where these youth are able to serve out their time as well as improve upon their skills, such as they're able to get their GED and work with staff and members. So we also have clinical services, as well as our street outreach program. So our street outreach program works directly out of our Shakely Center, which I will talk more about here shortly. And essentially, those lovely individuals go out and search for homeless youth in areas that they may congregate at, and provide them with resources such as hygiene kits, snack kits, as well as outgoing resources, whether that be one of our programs or a different program. And then, so our Meekum House is one of our emergency shelters, and this emergency shelter houses 10 to 17-year-old youth. The stay at our Meekum House is usually 5 days, and the reason for that is because we get recommended youth, and it is a place for them to be able to live, get a meal, have a place to stay, have relevant staff that are there to support them, for whatever reason that they are homeless, whether that be something is being investigated at our house or the living conditions or whatever else it may be. And then the idea of that program is to get them either back into their house or to someone else who might be able to care for them. And then we also have our Youth Housing Opportunities Program, which is housed out of our Shakely Center as well. And that is our apartment for 18 to 24-year-old youth. So we give eligible youth a place to stay, their own apartment, and then they go through programs such as independent skills training to be able to live out on their own. So we give them training such as, we have a training kitchen to help them go in and learn how to cook if they've never cooked by themselves before, how to apply for a job, how to write a resume, how to apply for, or not apply for taxes, but do their taxes. Just independent skills to be able to live independently. So, and then last but not least, we have our Shakely Center for Youth, and that is our other emergency shelter, and that houses 18 to 24-year-old youth. So oftentimes, youth that are 18 to 24 years old are forgotten, and we want to make sure that is not the case. So just a little bit more about our Meekum House and our Shakely Center. Our Meekum House is located on the top, that top picture, and it's actually located on Highland Avenue, which is right next to the Taco Bell, if you know where that Taco Bell is, as well as our Shakely Center is located on Iowa Avenue. So all of our buildings are relatively close together besides our Paint Creek program, and I just wanted to give you an idea of what they look like. So I'm not sure if you can read it up there, but there are some quotes from some of our clients from New Beginnings. Essentially, our New Beginnings building, as I said, it's one of our residential treatment centers, and this one is specifically for girls. So they actually just moved into a new building on East Hollister Street. So it's actually a really amazing building if you get the chance to go over there and check it out. We're able to house twice as many youth as we were able to before, as well as nicer building, brand new building. They have a giant kitchen, they have a glam room, so the youth are able to go and do their hair and with their friends, as well as do their fingernails and makeup and stuff. So it's a really amazing building, and I apologize you can't read those quotes. And so how organizations and partners usually support us, just a few different ways, is through our meal donation program. So I oversee our meal donation program, which is essentially we give donors the opportunity to come in and donate meals to our Meekum House and our Shakely Center, both of our emergency shelters. And that is an ongoing opportunity. We do give those youth 3 meals a day. So if you are available and are interested in, I can add you to our mailing list, and I send out our calendar twice a month for opportunities that are available with that. So, and then our street outreach program, as I said, our street outreach program puts together hygiene kits and snack kits to give to the youth. So if you're interested in being involved with that, either through donations or helping prepare those packages, you can feel free to contact me. I do have my contact information outside as well as at the end of this slide. So, and then donation drives for much needed items. Those items usually change throughout the year, and I always update our in-kind wish list based on our program's needs on our website, as well as I send it out to our email list. Essentially, the items that we need throughout the year are mostly hygiene items and clothing items. One thing that we're especially in need of is ethnic hair care products, such as like Cantu and Carol's Daughter. So if you're familiar with those, we would love those donations, and it's much needed by our programs. As well as every year we have our Happy Holidays gift drive, so I oversee that as well. So essentially that is our program where we give all of our youth in program gifts that they are interested in. So last year was a little different. It was sort of a hybrid format, but essentially we gave, I'm trying to remember the exact number, but I believe it's over $150,000 worth of stuff to youth. So it was, each youth got a $50 gift card as well as an item of their choice. So the way that worked was they were able to go out and buy what they liked, as well as they got one thing that donors were able to provide for them. So that is an amazing program. If you're interested in being a part of that, I start that mailing soon. So, and then, like I said, this is just a snapshot of all the programs that Lighthouse has. If you have any questions, feel free to ask at the end of the service. I will stick around for a little bit, and I'll do my best to answer them, and there's my contact information. So I do have some more information outside to be able to take out from the service. So thank you for having me, and I appreciate the service. So.
So how can you help? Well, you've heard you can sign up to volunteer, to donate, to help with the hygiene kits, with meals, with other needs at Lighthouse. If you would like to give financially, you can text the word GIVE to 513-717-7373. If you have access to our Breeze member system, you can click Give Now. You can give online at our website, firstuu.com. If you choose an electronic way of giving, make sure to select from the pull-down box the June Share the Plate so that the funds go directly to Lighthouse. Or you can always send a check made payable to First Unitarian Church with Lighthouse in the memo line and send it to 536 Linton Street, Cincinnati, Ohio, 45219. Our offering will now be gratefully received.
Thank you for that beautiful song. As Reverend Connie's time with us draws to a close, the Board of Trustees of the First Unitarian Church of Cincinnati would like to recognize her for her excellent service during her 4 years as our minister. We are losing someone who has made a positive impact on our congregation, and we love her and wish her well in the future. I know many of us are disappointed that we did not receive an interim minister. It is hard on our church pride to think that we weren't good enough. In fact, the path laid out by the Board and Right Relations Task Force is proof that we are good enough, provided each member makes an all-out effort to follow that path. Part of an interim minister's purpose is to guide a congregation in updating its processes. Through the Right Relations Task Force, we have already done much of that work. Another purpose of an interim is to preach rousing sermons that attract visitors and new members. Some churches have deliberately bypassed a single interim and instead have focused on best preachers near and far. Their messages enhance the best qualities of the congregation, such as our all-important commitment to equitable inclusion. It's somewhat like having General Assembly quality messages every Sunday of the year. Our congregation's first priority should be covenanting, living up to the responsibility of articulating how our collective community wants to be together. No matter how many interim, developmental, or settled ministers we would hire in the next decade, they could not do this essential covenantal work. It is we, the members, who covenant, not a minister. We are excited to learn from Sarah Elizabeth Anderson in July and August of this year, and to be guided by her through our first listening circle resolution. I'm excited by this opportunity to learn, grow, and break from the destructive cycles of interaction that have plagued our church from the beginning. This is an investment in our future and the survival of First Church, and I urge you to participate to the fullest. The restorative process involves deep listening on everyone's part. This is not easy stuff or cheap grace. To engage in restorative circles means having those hard conversations that require accountability and amends for transgressions. But it also means that everyone gets to share their pain and the damage done, as well as deeply listen to other points of view. Someone cannot enter the process with the idea that they will be vindicated. Vindication is not the destination. Honest communication is the point. The journey of staying in covenant with one another on a constant basis is the destination. Take heart. We have a community that longs for camaraderie, and which we are good at without having an interim minister. We must learn how to covenant and also how to be open to all kinds of ministerial possibilities. Therein germinates adventure, joy, and spiritual growth for our church. And now a call to action. Our AV, worship, and buildings and grounds teams are in need of reinforcements. Additionally, the pandemic brought about new ways that these teams need to interface with one another that Reverend Connie was great at managing, and we will soon need to navigate on our own. If you have interesting tech skills or are looking to develop some, please let us know. If you have special knowledge of facilities and historical buildings, please step forward. If you have inspiring ideas for worship services, it's time for action. I look forward to seeing your talents more fully in play. And then, of course, today at 11, we're having an open discussion hosted by the board that we can talk more about our steps going forward. Thank you all.
It's a lot to think about, isn't it? It's a lot of work to do. But I honestly believe that this congregation is like this flame. one that needs to be tended and cared for, and it's not just gonna automatically keep burning without some work. Every now and then, someone has to put oil in the lamp and trim the wick, or maybe even insert a new wick. They're all in the closet, by the way. So, let's extinguish our chalice for this moment by reciting together the words that appear on the screen. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. May it be so. So, a few announcements as we return to our world of service. June 19th will be our Father's Day service, Father Figures. Meredith has requested that we send memories. They can be photos, you can send a video, you can type an email for somebody to read. Any memory that you have of a father figure in your life, regardless of biological connection, gender identity, please upload it by the 13th of June, and we'll use them in the service on the 19th. Our General Assembly, which is the annual gathering of Unitarian Universalists nationwide, happens June 22nd through the 26th in Portland, Oregon. Again this year, and permanently going forward, it will be a multi-platform event. All of the business sessions will be available for anyone to watch online at any time, as will the worship sessions and the service of the living tradition. The closing worship on the 26th will be our Sunday worship. Please note that because General Assembly is in Portland, it won't happen at 10 o'clock, so keep an eye on your email to watch for the time that will happen.